A bigger paycheck will never make you rich. Say it again. Read it twice, because somewhere between the last raise you got and the account balance you checked right before this video started, that sentence just landed like a slap. 2 in the morning. Phone screen too bright for the dark room. Thumb on the banking app. The number sitting there. Bigger than it was last year. Bigger than it was 5 raises ago. And still, somehow, not enough. Not enough to relax. Not enough to stop checking. Not enough to feel what enough was supposed to feel like, back when you were promised that harder work equals more money equals a better life. You've been told this since you were a kid. Work hard, get the raise, climb the ladder. Nobody mentioned that 2 different games run through the exact same paycheck, and you were only ever taught the rules of one of them. There is a pipe. You cannot see it, but you have felt it your entire working life. It runs straight from your labor into somewhere else. Every hour you give fills it. Every dollar you earn moves through it. By the time it reaches you, most of it is already gone, spent before you ever got the chance to decide what it was for. Here is the first thing this video is going to prove to you, piece by piece. You can double your income and still lose. Not because you are careless, not because you are bad with money, because the game was built to keep the pipe full while you stay empty. And here is a second thing, buried deeper, that almost nobody says out loud. There is one number, a single number, that the people who actually get rich check every single day. It is not their salary. It is not their bonus. It is not the figure on their pay stub at all. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what that number is and why you were never taught to look at it. This is not a video about working harder, not about budgeting better, not about cutting out your morning coffee. This is about the pipe and about the moment you finally reroute it. Let's begin. Here is the lie, stated plainly. You were taught that if you earn enough, you will eventually own enough. Income first, ownership later, as if one turns into the other automatically, like water finding its level. It does not. Income and ownership are not the same game played at different speeds. They are 2 separate games, running on 2 separate boards, and only one of them ends with you holding anything at all. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote it centuries ago, and it still cuts clean today. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Right now, you have been raised to be the lion. Strong, hardworking, loyal to the grind. Nobody ever taught you to be the fox, to look down and notice the trap before your foot is already in it. So let's name the 2 sides of this board. There is the leash. The leash works for money, spends the money, and waits for the next payment to arrive before the cycle repeats. The leash is not lazy. The leash is not foolish. The leash is simply playing the only game they were ever shown the rules to. And that game has no finish line, only a next payday. Then there is the ledger. The ledger does not measure life in payments. The ledger measures life in what is owned. Property, equity, a stake in something that keeps producing value whether the ledger shows up to work or not. The ledger did not necessarily start with more money than you. The ledger started by playing a different game with the exact same paycheck. Here is the stake, and it is not small. Every year you spend on the leash side of this board is a year the pipe ran straight through your hands and out the other side. Gone. Compounding does not wait for you to feel ready. It does not pause while you catch up. Every year the ledger owns something is a year that something grows on its own, while every year you only earn is a year that resets back to zero the moment your income stops. This is not about which side works harder. The leash often works harder than the ledger ever will. This is about which side owns something when the work stops. Here's what they never tell you about a raise. The cage doesn't get smaller when you earn more. It gets wider. And you never notice, because a wider cage still feels like freedom. Call this the law of the widening cage. You get promoted. The number on your offer letter goes up by a few thousand a year, and for about a week, you feel it. That lightness, that sense that something has finally loosened. Then the first month's new paycheck lands, and something strange happens. The apartment that was fine last year suddenly feels small. The car that got you to work just fine last year suddenly feels like something you've outgrown. The dinners out get a little more frequent, a little more expensive, because you deserve it after everything you put in to earn this raise. None of these decisions feel reckless in the moment. Each one feels reasonable, earned, even responsible. But 6 months later, your spending has expanded to fill the exact space your income just opened up, and your bank balance, adjusted for how far ahead you actually feel, hasn't moved at all. This is not a willpower problem. It is not a character flaw. It is a documented pattern. As income rises, the baseline of what feels necessary rises right alongside it, silently, without asking permission. 10 years from now, you could be earning triple what you earn today and still feel exactly this tight, exactly this behind, exactly this far from enough. Because enough is not a number. It is a moving target that expands every time you get closer to it. The cage doesn't hold you by keeping you poor. It holds you by making sure richer never feels like rich. Stay with me, because this next one is the quieter trap, and it's the one that fools people who think they're already ahead. Call this the law of the false ledger. You look at your pay stub, and you see a bigger number than you saw 5 years ago, and something in your chest relaxes, because a bigger number feels like proof that you are winning. Here is what that number does not tell you. It does not tell you that the price of everything you actually need, the roof over your head, the food on your table, the gas in your car, has climbed right alongside it, and in a lot of years, climbed faster. It does not tell you what a third of that number disappears to before it ever reaches your account. It does not tell you that the number you are so relieved to see is measured in units that quietly lose value every single year they sit still. You are not being told to celebrate a bigger number. You are being told to celebrate a number that was designed to look like progress while doing almost none of the actual work of making you wealthier. This is the trick at the center of an entire economy. Convince you to track the wrong column. Track the income line, and you will always feel like you're catching up. Track what you actually own instead of what you earn, and an entirely different picture starts to appear. One that has almost nothing to do with how big your paycheck is. Here's the part no one explains out loud. These two traps do not work separately. They work together, on a loop, and the loop is the entire point. The widening cage makes sure that every extra dollar gets a new job to do before it ever reaches your hands. The false ledger makes sure you feel proud of the extra dollar anyway, so you never stop to ask where it actually went. Between the two of them, you can spend an entire working life feeling like you are climbing, while the only thing that's actually climbing is the amount running through the pipe on its way somewhere else. And this is only the beginning of the ladder. Because there is a third law waiting, quieter than the first two, that explains something much harder to admit. Why even the people who know all of this, who can see the cage, who can see the false ledger, still can't bring themselves to move a single dollar out of the pipe and into something they would actually own. So here is the truth, and you need to actually let it land instead of rushing past it. You didn't lose this game by playing it badly. You lost because you were handed a scoreboard that only counts income in a game that has only ever been won by owning. Every year you spent chasing a bigger number on that scoreboard, you were doing exactly what you were told to do. You showed up, you worked hard, you earned the raise. None of that was the mistake. The mistake was believing that the scoreboard you were handed was the only one in the building. There is another scoreboard. It has always existed, running quietly underneath the one you were shown. It does not track what you make in a month. It tracks what you keep, permanently, whether you show up to work tomorrow or not. And there is one number on that second scoreboard. The number the ledger checks every single morning before they check anything else that you have never once been taught to look at. You are about to find out exactly what that number is. But first, you need to understand why knowing about it hasn't been enough to save anyone yet, and why the next law on this ladder is the one most people never survive. But it gets worse, because even once you understand the cage and the false ledger, there is a third law standing between you and doing anything about it. Call this the law of the spent account. The moment your paycheck lands, it is already spoken for. Rent, the card balance from last month, groceries, the subscriptions you forgot you were paying for. By the time you finally look at what's left, it isn't money anymore. It's a leftover. And a leftover doesn't feel like something you're allowed to protect. It feels like something you're allowed to spend, because in your head, it was never really yours to begin with. It was just the paycheck's runoff. This is how an entire paycheck can pass through your hands every single month without a single dollar of it ever being assigned the job of ownership. Not because you failed to save, because nothing in the system ever asked the money to become anything other than spent.
Time equals 1 second / greater than. Now watch what the system does next, because this is where it gets deliberate. Call this the law of the frozen hand. Say you finally managed to set some money aside. The next decision, the one that would actually move it from the pipe into something you own, is the one your hand refuses to make. Because the moment you imagine putting that money into anything that isn't guaranteed, your mind fixates on one single outcome: the chance that it could go down. Not the years of growth on the other side, not the ownership stake it could become, just the drop. A loss feels roughly twice as heavy as an equal gain feels good, and the system knows this about you better than you know it about yourself. So your hand freezes. The money sits. It sits in an account that pays you nothing, guaranteed, forever. Not because that's safe, but because standing still feels safer than the discomfort of watching a number move. Meanwhile, the only guaranteed loss in the entire situation is the one nobody warns you about. Money that sits still while everything around it gets more expensive is losing value every single day it does nothing. And now, the last law. The one built for the deepest floor of this cage. The one that finally explains everything that came before it. Call this the law of the sold future. You are not weak for choosing comfort today over ownership tomorrow. You are wired for it. For most of human history, the person who grabbed the food in front of them survived, and the person who waited patiently for a bigger reward later sometimes didn't live to collect it. That instinct kept your ancestors alive. It is also the exact instinct the modern economy has learned to aim at you every single day, through every screen you own. Buy now, one-click checkout, pay later. Every piece of that design exists to make today's comfort feel unbearably urgent and tomorrow's ownership feel comfortably optional. Because optional things get delayed, and delayed things get delayed again, for years, until an entire decade is gone and the ownership never happened at all. Here is the number, finally, the one the ledger checks every single morning before checking anything else. It is not their income. It is not their salary. It is the total of what they own, free and clear, growing on its own, whether they work tomorrow or not. That column has a name, and once you start tracking it instead of your income, you start playing an entirely different game than the one you've been playing your whole life. Somewhere in the last few minutes, something in you changed. You stopped thinking of yourself only as someone who earns, and you started thinking of yourself as someone who could own. That shift is not a mood. It is not motivation. It is the exact moment the leash starts becoming the ledger. And it happens the instant you stop measuring your life by what lands in your account and start measuring it by what you actually keep. Machiavelli warned that the fox survives by seeing the trap before the trap closes. You have now seen the trap. The widening cage, the false ledger, the spent account, the frozen hand, the sold future. 5 laws, 1 pipe, running straight from your labor into someone else's vault for as long as you let it. This is not about being smarter than everyone else, not about timing a market, not about a secret only the wealthy are told. This is about redirecting the pipe, one deliberate cut at a time, until what used to flow straight through your hands starts collecting into something that is finally yours.
3 things to carry out of this video. 1. Your income was never the scoreboard. It was the bait. 2. The cage doesn't get smaller when you earn more. It gets wider, and only ownership breaks the pattern. 3. And this is the one that matters most. The day you redirect your first dollar out of the pipe and into something you own, permanently, is the day you stop being managed by the system and start managing it. So here is your directive, and it is not a challenge. Open your accounts right now. Add up everything you actually own, free and clear. Write that number down. That is your real starting line, not your salary. Type ledger below, not for me, as the first proof to yourself that the version of you who only tracked income is done. If this cracked something open in you, stay. There's a version of you on the other side of this that owns instead of earns, and that channel is built for exactly that person. Protect your capital. I'll see you on the other side of the ledger.